for Tottenham a couple of nights ago. It was bonkers, wasn't it? The result for Spurs.
Do you know what? I just thought I didn't think AC Milan were great. Didn't think they were a great side, and I thought being at home, Spurs, the fans would have obviously took the roof off the place. The players would have fed into the fans' energy.
Yeah.
And they would have gone on the front foot and they would have gone and got the result. I couldn't see a scenario where they stopped Spurs from scoring at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but they were poor. Offered absolutely nothing, no tempo, no energy. They let AC Milan dictate the tempo of the match. Romero, listen, he's a good player, but I look at him and I look at Martinez. They've both got that kind of rash dog in them, but Martinez can control it. He can't. Romero, I mean, listen, he didn't get away with that one, and there's been a fair few in various games where he's been towing the line a little bit, where he could have got himself sent off. But yeah, if you're for Spurs, I mean, it seems bonkers because they're at the FA Cup, they're at the Champions League, they are still fourth, but yeah, it almost feels like the wheels have completely come off.
Ben is, of course, alluding to the fact that Spurs crashed out the Champions League to AC Milan during the week. A frustrated Richarlison had a bit of a go at his manager, Antonio Conte. Have a listen to this.
I was not told anything. Let's see what he's going to say tomorrow. But there's no fool here. I am a professional, working every day, and I want to play, mate. I am lacking minutes, game time. This season, and apologies for the use of the word, has been because I don't have minutes. I had an injury, okay, but when I'm on the pitch, I give my life. I was coming from 2 good games, especially against Chelsea, when I played the whole 90 minutes. And we won the match.
I should say, well done to Apprentice of the Year, No Tan Down, for dubbing over that. How good's that?
Fantastic.
That was amazing. So we all are aware of what Richarlison says. Conte today responded to Richarlison's comments. Have a listen to this.
He didn't criticize me. He said my season is and it's right, because his season is not good, because he had a lot of injuries. He started well with us. He had an injuries in Champions League. Then he went in a World Cup, and they missed to win the World Cup, and he had another injuries, serious. He came back and he stayed 1 month out, and then another injuries. He scored 0 goal with us, only 2 goals in Champions League. I think that the guys was really honest to tell that his season is not good.
Yeah, where does this leave him and Richarlison and the club? Let's get more on this now with Ian Abrahams. The Moose was in Antonio Conte's press conference earlier on this afternoon. Hello, Moose. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Thanks.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you for asking. How are you doing? Are you all right? You well?
Yeah, not too bad.
And what was the mood like in this? It's all very strange what's going on at the moment between these two. What was the mood like, firstly?
I've been in plenty of press conferences down the years where you arrive and you think you're going to get an absolute barnstorm of a press conference where the manager is going to unload everything he needs to or feels he needs to unload, and sometimes the manager just sits there and bats it all away. And to a certain extent, I expected that from Conte today, but he came out firing on all guns firing, and certainly didn't take any prisoners. He, as you heard there, what he said about Richarlison, confirming that Richarlison's season hadn't been, let's say, the greatest. They use different phrases, but I'll say the greatest. Then he seemed to call out the fans, saying that there's absolutely no patience at the club, and what he needed was time and patience, but there's no patience. And he said to me, when I asked him about his future, he said, listen, I'll do all I can for Spurs while I'm here, but I'm not going to kill myself. And I don't know where we are now with Conte in terms of when he leaves Spurs, but I think the pretty certain thing is that he will be leaving Spurs, if not during the international break that's coming up, then probably at the end of the season.
Moose, did you get the sense that he's checked out? I know he spoke about the fans and he had a shot of Richarlison, but do you almost feel like with his demeanour that he's had enough now and that he would like a clean break away from Spurs?
Well, he's had enough talking about his future. That is absolutely certain. He was very, very annoyed, or seemed to be getting more and more annoyed with every question that was being asked about his future. However, it was cleverly phrased. And let's face it, that was what today's press conference was all about. Antonio Conte's future. It wasn't, the fact that they're playing Nottingham Forest tomorrow never got a look in. In fact, the words Nottingham Forest weren't actually used in the half-hour plus press conference that he gave today by either him or those asking the questions. Has he checked out? I think he probably has. I mean, he still wants to get top 4 because he's a man of great pride and doesn't want, I suppose, to leave Spurs with people saying he was a complete failure. But the one thing that is certain now is that he will be leaving, I think, because there's no way he's never given any indication before, and he didn't give any indication today that he's in this for the long haul. He mentioned the fact that he was only given an 18-month contract so that the club could see if they like him and he could see if they like the club. He didn't go the next step further to confirm what he thought, but he said that both parties knew about each other by now.
Do you, with this in mind, and the fact you've just said he's called out the fans, said no patience at the club and so on, do you think that all Spurs fans, because it does take focus away from the match, you mentioned that game against Nottingham Forest, it's live and exclusive on talkSPORT 2 actually tomorrow at 3 o'clock, but that's going to take some of the focus away from that, and Spurs are desperate for Champions League football. Currently they're fourth, but Liverpool are hot on the heels. Do you think all Spurs fans, they obviously want this saga over as quickly as possible, do you think they'd want him out as soon as possible as well?
Let me rephrase that, or let me answer that by asking you a question. If you thought the answer to that question was no, they don't all want him out now, then why were a section of the fans the other night singing for Mauricio Pochettino to return? And he was asked that today at the press conference about the fact that the other night some of the fans were calling for Poch. So you played, Darren. Andy, you've been at Old Trafford when there's been atmosphere, shall we say, around managers leaving. I'll put it to both of you. If you don't think that there could be an atmosphere tomorrow and the fans have probably made their mind up, let's put it that way, why would some of them the other night have been singing for their former manager to return?
Yeah, you're right, Moose. There's going to be a bit of an atmosphere. He'd have heard it. It's obviously going to have hurt him. And as you said there, he's an incredibly proud man. What I will say is if it doesn't happen sooner rather than later, you look at Spurs' next 3 fixtures, Moose. I think they've got Everton, Southampton and Nottingham Forest. They could easily win all 3 of them. All of a sudden now he goes and wins them 3. It's like, well, what do they do now? Do they continue? Does it keep bobbling on? Does it go wait to the end of the season? What do they do then?
I feel like, I think Andy said it yesterday, sometimes when he was talking about Poch, in terms of, when you've had a divorce and you go back to, you remember the good times, but you forget about why you got the divorce. I think with Antonio Conte, they're not thinking about too many good times they've had. I think a lot of Spurs, unlike at Chelsea, whereby it was pretty much success all the way, once he got down that sort of formation nailed down during that defeat at Arsenal, that famous defeat at Arsenal, once he went on that unbeaten run and won the title, they all loved him and they all remembered just the good times. I think there are too many Spurs fans now that will question the style of football. It's not the, in inverted commas, the Tottenham way. The results as well. The fact that, once again, a bit like when Mourinho came, you brought to the club, a manager that wins trophies everywhere. He's won trophies absolutely everywhere, bar at Tottenham Hotspur. Same with Mourinho when he came, and I think the fans will just remember that. What did Conte win us? He didn't win us anything.
Mo's, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for your time. I'll speak to you in a bit.
No problems.
talkSPORT Drive with Andy Goldstein. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.